Experience CBS News.
Live from KFDM-TV, the choice of Southeast Texas. You're watching 6 News at 6.
Information provided by Channel 6 viewers tonight has played a role in the arrest of a suspected bank robber.
You do what you're trained to do and what you practice for, and you hope it's enough.
And a toddler tonight has died despite the effort of firefighters to save his life. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Leger.
And I'm Larry Beaulieu. Thank you for being with us tonight. A toddler tonight has died in a hospital after firefighters pulled him out of a burning home in North Beaumont. When firefighters arrived at the home on Helbig Road, flames had already filled the house. Rhonda Vise has been investigating. She joins us now from our newsroom with more. Rhonda?
Well, the fire started at 2:30 this afternoon inside a home at 6600 Rebecca off Helbig in North Beaumont. Smoke poured out of the home and everything inside was destroyed. A man and his 2 children were home at the time of the fire. Firefighters pulled the man's 2-year-old boy from the burning home, and they did CPR on him at the scene. An ambulance rushed the toddler to Christus St. Elizabeth Hospital, where he died. The man and his 6-month-old daughter got out with minor injuries, but were also taken to the hospital as a precaution. We talked with firefighters who helped rescue the family from the home. They say in a situation like this, time is critical, and it's important to get everyone out of the home quickly.
Checked with the father. The father told us which bedroom was the child's, and that's where the child was found, was in his own bedroom.
Seconds are critical. And they're working as hard as they can, as fast as they can. You wish you had twice as many people to assign to duties, so everybody is just jumping through hoops, trying to work as hard as they can to get in there.
The names of the family members have not been released at this time. Larryville firefighters are trying to find out what caused the fire.
All right, sad story. Thank you, Rhonda Vise, reporting tonight.
Well, authorities tonight have made another high-profile arrest, but the suspect in the case of child abuse will not be staying in Southeast Texas very long. During a federal court hearing this afternoon, Wilbur Lee Ellison did not object when investigators requested that he be returned to Alabama. Ellison faces a 1996 charge of taking a child across state lines with the intent of sexually abusing her. Ellison used the name Timothy Moore while living in Southeast Texas. He became known to police when he was shot last year while working as a pizza delivery driver in Port Arthur. 2 teens and a 12-year-old have been arrested in connection with that shooting. A tip from someone in Alabama led investigators to Ellison, and they were able to prove his identity. State troopers tonight are investigating a traffic accident that injured 4 people on Highway 73 in Jefferson County. 2 cars were involved in the accident last night a mile west of Taylor's Bayou Bridge. Port Arthur firefighters used the jaws of life to rescue 1 passenger from a car. A medical helicopter and 2 ambulances brought the victims to several hospitals. Injuries to the 4 people, fortunately, are not life-threatening. Well, Beaumont police tonight have released the name of a woman killed in a traffic accident Tuesday morning. Officers say 19-year-old Dorian Julian Chevis was the passenger in a small car driven by Shalonda Minix. Minix's car collided with a truck at the intersection of Chin Lane and East Tex Freeway. Chevis and Minix were taken to Christus St. Elizabeth Hospital, where Chevis died in surgery. Minix is in stable condition. The driver of the truck was not hurt. Bill.
The closure of several health clinics tonight has led to busy emergency rooms in Beaumont. Some of the hospitals are so busy they've had to turn away patients arriving by ambulance. It doesn't happen often, but Elizabeth Trevino explains it is a concern to patients and emergency workers.
When paramedics bring a patient to an emergency room, they expect the patient to get admitted.
It was very unusual, even 5 or 10 years ago, for any ER to go on drive-by. These days it's becoming more and more common, particularly in this local area.
Drive-by is short for diversionary status. When a hospital reaches that point, it means the hospital is at full capacity and doctors are forced to turn away ambulance patients.
It can be very frustrating, especially when both of them, when in the city of Beaumont, there's only 2 hospitals. When both go on drive-by, then you have to make a choice of, which one to go to. You have to go to one. So here in the last 5 or 6 months, it's been pretty frequent.
So why are Beaumont hospitals so full? Nurses believe it's due to an increase in patients coming from outside the region, places like Silsbee and Winnie. Just a few months ago, medical clinics in those areas closed.
Now those people have no choice but to seek help in Beaumont at one of the 2 remaining ERs.
With so many patients seeking medical help in Beaumont, paramedics say there's really nothing they can do, but there is something you can do.
I believe maybe a small solution would be some of these minor emergencies would go into the minor care center or go into like their doctors instead of going and flooding the hospital ERs.
And that flood might not become a trickle until more clinics reopen in rural areas. Elizabeth Trevino, KFDM 6 News.
And families in Silsbee are waiting to learn if the hospital or the emergency room will reopen. That would help reduce the number of patients seeking treatment in Beaumont.
Lamar University is paying tribute to this year's top university professor. Dr. Gene Andrews was given the lifetime honor of University Professor at a ceremony in the John Gray Library. Andrews is a nationally recognized authority on deaf children and literacy. She has been at Lamar 12 years as a professor of communication disorders and deaf education. She credits those she works with for her success.
Well, I've been very lucky. I've had a good administration from my chair to the dean to the vice president and the president in supporting our programs in deaf education, and that's been really a luxury. I've really enjoyed that.
3 other Lamar professors were honored today for their teaching excellence. They each received University Merit Awards.
As we reported at 5 o'clock tonight, there has been an arrest in connection with the robbery of a Beaumont credit union last week. We're working to bring you a live report from the U.S. Attorney's Office coming up in just a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. And coming up later on Channel 6 News, the Neches River Festival's Citizen of the Year is a familiar face to Southeast Texans.
And coming up next, the Beaumont family has a special reason for closely following the Elian Gonzalez story. The plight of 6-year-old Elian Gonzalez has touched people all across the country.
Tonight, some Cuban Americans living in Southeast Texas are speaking out about the battle over the boy. Tony and Antonia Marino have lived in the United States for almost 40 years, and they say little Elian's story has brought back memories of when they sent their 2-year-old daughter to live in the United States. The Beaumont couple says most Cuban Americans don't oppose Elian being with his father. They just don't want him going to an oppressive country. The Marinos say they don't believe Elian will remain with his father if he's sent back to Cuba.
Once he gets to Cuba, they're going to put him away from his father somewhere. First, they're going to brainwash him because he's older. So they're going to keep him away in a place. They already show the house where they're going to put him. And this is going to continue on and on. And they're going to use him as a trophy. He's not going to be a normal child in Cuba. No children in Cuba is a normal child like the children here.
Marinos are also outraged about how the Clinton government handled the raid and the seizure of Elian Saturday morning. Angel San Juan will have more on this tonight at 10.
Thank you, Bill. Kerry Cooper here to tell us about tomorrow.
Well, about like you like today, you'll like
about
tomorrow.
Like today? Well, that was
like
pretty easy, wasn't it?
Not too far off. Maybe a few more clouds, still pretty hot though, but maybe a couple of storms to talk about though by tomorrow night. We'll do that coming up next.
And now, KFDM-6 weather, the most trusted weathercast in Southeast Texas.
Well, as we head into the months of April into May, late part of spring, certainly notice it with the temperatures in the mid to upper 80s across the area this afternoon. Right now we have 76 degrees in Beaumont. Let's check our WeatherNet station now in Chambers County and Winnie. These are live current conditions at East Chambers Elementary in Winnie, 79 degrees. And notice the high temperature, 88. There just wasn't much of a wind at all today. We finally got a little bit of a sea breeze going late this afternoon. Winds kicked up out of the south. Humidity already coming up to 57%. So it'll be much warmer tonight. We had lows this morning in the 50s again, but they'll be in the 60s area-wide tonight, leading to another pretty warm day coming up across the area tomorrow. Nothing to show you on live Doppler radar. Let's go straight to satellite. Started off with lots of clear skies this morning, but as we put the satellite into motion, I have one little disturbance in the upper levels moving through Mississippi, and notice showers and thunderstorms trying to develop late this afternoon, this evening in western Oklahoma into the Texas Panhandle. A couple of storms developing out along the Rio Grande around Del Rio. So pretty heavy storms, but they're very isolated, few and far between. Otherwise, high pressure continuing to dominate our weather in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So you have that high pressure aloft, you have the sinking air, and very few showers and thunderstorms to form. But if you notice a while ago, the cloud movement from the northwest to southeast. And we're getting into the time of the year, especially late spring, early summer. We start getting a south wind at the surface. The moisture starts coming back, but in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, the winds are out of the northwest, so that can be some very unstable conditions at times. And it looks like by tomorrow night, frontal system you see off to the northwest, just approaching Denver, will work as far south as northeast Texas by late in the day tomorrow. And some of our computer models are indicating maybe some storms developing western Oklahoma later tonight, up along the Red River, developing and then moving to the south-southeast throughout the day, late tomorrow into Friday morning. So we'll have to watch that carefully. Otherwise, warm temperatures, the main weather story, 80s and 90s across the state. Here's what we expect late tomorrow. What's left of that front will be approaching northeast Texas, and at least pretty good chances of rain to our north, about 30 to 40% over northeast Texas on up into northern Louisiana and Mississippi. But once again, if any storms fire in this area, the trend will be for a south and southeast movement. So we'll have to watch that very carefully. We have included a slight chance of thunderstorms in the forecast late tomorrow, especially for the lakes area. Across the country, it's heat in the southwest, 99 degrees in Phoenix, but almost the opposite in the northeast. That's video to show you from Boston, snow. And that is unusual, even in the northeastern part of the country. In fact, some areas, over an inch of snow. And even in Boston, Massachusetts, northeastern half of the United States, very unusual as we head toward the end of late April into May. That storm system now working off these. Had a wind chill this morning in Boston of 15 degrees. Marine forecast sees 1 to 3 feet. Winds a little more southerly tomorrow. South and southwest up to 16 knots. Water temperature way up to 78. Forecast tonight, fair skies, a little bit warmer, or I should say quite a bit warmer, with a light south and southwest winds. We'll see lows around 60 in the lakes, mid-60 in the triangle. And for tomorrow, an isolated thunderstorm possible, and a 10% coverage by late in the day with highs in the low to mid-80s. 20% coverage of storms by tomorrow night into Friday morning. So we'll have to watch those storms over North Texas carefully late in the day.
All right, we'll do that. Right. Thank you, Kerry. Bill?
Thank you all. And due to a technical problem, we've had to move one of our top stories down to right now. It's an important story, though. Federal agents in Beaumont police tonight have arrested a robbery suspect exactly 1 week after a man walked out of a credit union with about $75,000. During the past week, investigators have received tips that led to evidence, and that evidence led them to the suspect in the robbery of the Beaumont Municipal Employees Credit Union. Courtney Zawalski is live at the U.S. Attorney's Office in downtown Beaumont to explain how they got this guy. Courtney?
Louisville FBI agents arrested 35-year-old Joseph Leland Everest about 3 this afternoon at his Houston home. Now, authorities say a key element in this arrest was a bike the man bought at a Beaumont pawn shop. Now, as we reported last week, that bike, along with a striped shirt, were recovered near Village Creek boat ramp. Now, the day of the robbery, the 2 items were discovered by a couple who was sunbathing at the park. That same couple also...
Okay, so apparently you can see that our technical problem that we were having earlier is back, but Courtney will be on her way back to the station. We're going to have much more on this coming up tonight as 10. Tonight coming up at 10. Right now, coming up in sports in just a minute, a Texas Rangers pitcher gets rocked again.
Brian Lockery is coming along with all the details, so stay with us right here on Channel 6.
The Channel 6 weather phone is brought to you by your good neighbors at locally owned Market Basket. Market Basket, the people you know, the service you expect.
Thursday, educating our children is priority 1. But are bond issues the only way to pay?
Within 2 to 3 years, your taxes are going to go up 9%.
Creative options include a leasing plan where BISD borrows money now and pays it back later.
The biggest misconception is that we would always be able to go and borrow money and spend money without asking voters.
How will you vote May 6th? Watch Bricks and Bonds Thursday on KFDM. You can count on us.
Now, KFDM 6 Sports. You can count on us.
Those Texas Rangers had a day in the ballpark today, but not a day they enjoyed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the fans may have enjoyed it. The weather may have been nice, but yeah, as far as the players go, it wasn't too much fun for them. Rangers closed out their homestand with a day game this afternoon against the Red Sox. Mark Clark got the start for Texas. He's not as good as his 2-1 record indicates. He hasn't lasted 6 innings in any start this year, and since last year has an 8.40 ERA, and right-handed batters hit .341 against him. Those fireworks would continue today. He got the first 2 outs of the first inning, then after that ran into some trouble. 2 runners on, and former Astro Carl Everett takes Clark deep for a 3-run homer. Boston goes up 4-0, and they go on to win this one in a rout. They put 10 more runs up on the board. 14-4 is your final score. Boston with the win over Texas. The Yankees get 4 pitchers combined for the shutout over the Twins 2-0, and in the National League, San Francisco over Florida 8-7, the Giants' 5th straight win. In typical Nolan Ryan fashion, the all-time strikeout king is recovering from his double bypass operation faster than anyone expected. Doctors anticipate him being released from the hospital within the next day or two. Ryan went into the hospital Sunday after suffering shortness of breath and chest pains. He was rushed to surgery when tests revealed near total blockage of his main artery to his heart. Ryan's wife, Ruth, will drive him to his home in Alvin, where he will continue to recuperate. Well, the Westbrook softball team has their work cut out for them tomorrow night. They face Brazoswood, who's 27-0 on the year. They're not only the #1 ranked team in the state, but #1 in the nation, according to USA Today. They took over the nation's top ranking after Mater Dei, a Southern California school, lost last week. The Lady Bruins go for the upset tomorrow at Channelview High School at 7 p.m. Also, in softball playoff action, the Viter Lady Pirates will be taking on Caney Creek. That'll be tomorrow 7:30 at the Pasadena ISD Sports Complex. In baseball, LCM taking on Lumberton in a 3-game set. It'll be May 4th, 5th, and 6th at Vincent Beck Stadium. 4th and 5th will be at 6 p.m. and on the 6th, which is a Saturday, that game will be at noon if necessary. In golf action, Hardin-Jefferson has a commanding lead after one round in the regional golf tournament with a team total of 293. Madisonville in second at 321. Britt Ashmore. In fact, Hardin-Jeff golfers are 1, 2, 3 in the individual medalist honors. Britt Ashmore and Glenn Allen both under par at that tournament. Well, when the Cowboys took 3 cornerbacks in the NFL draft last week, something was going to have to give, and today it did. Kevin Mathis shipped to New Orleans in a trade for linebacker Chris Bordano. Mathis has been injury-prone throughout his career and last year suffered a sprained knee, limiting his playing time. The trade will have veteran backup corner Charlie Williams breathing a little easier because only one of the two was expected to make it to training camp this year. Looks like it will be Williams. Well, Grant Hill's season is over, and the rest of the Detroit Pistons probably aren't far behind. Doctors say Hill has a fractured left ankle, so it's going to take 8 weeks to heal. The Pistons lose their top scoring threat in their series with Miami, which they already trail 0-2. Hill injured the foot 3 weeks ago and missed the Pistons' final 4 regular season games. Came back for the playoffs, scoring 13 points in Game 1, but was clearly in pain. Yesterday hurt him so badly he had to come out of the game for good in the second half after scoring 9 points in 21 minutes of play.
I started last night at some point in the first half, and tried to go back out, but it was too painful. And so we found out last night that it was a break or a fracture or whatever. And so as Dr. Taiji said, I can't play because it's not healthy. So.
And finally tonight, Orlando Magic head coach Doc Rivers became the first NBA Coach of the Year to earn postseason honors despite missing out on the playoffs. 4 of Orlando's 5 starters were not drafted by any NBA team, and yet he kept the Magic in playoff contention until the final week of the season. Rivers received 60 of the 121 votes to edge Lakers head coach Phil Jackson for Coach of the Year honors. He becomes the first rookie coach to win Coach of the Year since...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to you. I was
Larry Bird, 1966.
I was going to say
1996,
Larry was. I was paying attention to what's coming up next. I'm sorry. I should have been listening to you.
That's okay. I'll forgive you this time.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Well, stay with us, and we will have that story about the arrest of a suspect in the credit union robbery coming up next.
A feuding family bands together to survive a desperate plane wreck. Don't miss Miracle on the Mountain tonight, only on KFDM, Channel 6.
As we have told you a couple times already during the newscast, federal agents and Beaumont police tonight have arrested a robbery suspect exactly 1 week after a man walked out of a credit union with about $75,000. During the past week, investigators have received tips that led to evidence, and that evidence led them to the suspect in the robbery of the credit union. And Courtney Zabowski is here now to tell us more about this.
Right, well, both federal agents arrested 35-year-old Joseph Leland Evers just after 3 this afternoon at his Houston home. Now, authorities say a key element in this arrest was a bike that the man bought at a Beaumont pawn shop. Now, as we previously reported, that bike, along with a striped shirt, were recovered near Village Creek boat ramp the day of the robbery. Now, the 2 items were discovered by a couple who was sunbathing at the park, and that same couple also said a man in a copper-colored truck approached them and asked them for directions. They described that truck to authorities, and this afternoon when FBI agents arrested the suspect, a truck matching that same description was sitting in the man's driveway. Now, the way that this all came about was the reason the couple brought these items to the attention of authorities was because they saw surveillance video from inside the bank at the time of that robbery. And joining me now is Assistant U.S. Attorney Johnny Stevens. And Mr. Stevens, what is the key element that led to this arrest? What broke the case?
So many very important elements came into play, but certainly a very important one was the fact that the man tried to buy the bike that he used in the robbery on the day of the robbery, and from evidence from that sale of the bike here in a pawn shop in Beaumont and the video surveillance from that pawn shop, we were able to connect that and the other items to this man who lived in Houston. We captured him this afternoon at about 3 o'clock as he was loading up his copper-colored truck and all of his belongings, and we expected him to be on his way out of town. So it was just in time.
What was he doing when he arrived, when you arrived, or the FBI agents arrived?
Loading up to leave. And I'm sure that he felt like he could have come into this area from being out of town, gotten away completely with the robbery, and then moved off without being caught. But he was wrong. Law enforcement and citizens helped to make this arrest come about.
I know throughout this past week when y'all have been conducting the investigation, we've always talked about the importance of the surveillance video. How important was that in this investigation? Would you have been able to arrest this man if there was no surveillance video?
Maybe, but certainly the videos in the credit union as well as the pawn shop really helped focus on this particular man and corroborate the items. In fact, he was caught in one video wearing the same shirt as he was in the video where he robbed the bank.
All right, well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Courtney.
And if convicted, Everest could face up to 20 years in federal prison.
Thank you, Courtney, for that report and for bringing us up to date on that, and congratulations to authorities for capturing the suspect. Well, finally tonight, another unmasking on the banks of the Neches River.
Last night, officials with the Neches River Festival revealed the identity of the Neches River King. Well, tonight, they're unmasking the 2000 Citizen of the Year.
This is a wonderful honor, but I'm granddaughter.
Dr. Jimmy Simmons is no stranger to awards. This year alone, the Sales and Marketing and Executive Club named Simmons Executive of the Year, and the Press Club of Southeast Texas named him the 1999 Newsmaker of the Year. Simmons credits his achievements to all of the support he gets from his faculty, students, and the alumni of Lamar University. And most importantly, Larry, he credits his family.
All right. Thank you for being with us tonight. The Wheel of Fortune is next. Have a great evening.
We'll see you tonight at 10. Good night, everyone.